My wife's affair partner is suing me for defamation after I exposed the affair online. The first time I noticed something was wrong was when Laura, my wife of 8 years, began spending more time on her phone than with me. She'd disappear into the bedroom for hours, her laughter echoing faintly through the walls. I'd ask her what was so funny, and she'd brush it off with a casual, "Just memes, you wouldn't get it." But it wasn't just the phone. She'd started working late. Often, her excuses were textbook: "We're understaffed," or "The project deadline's killing me." Yet, when I picked her up from work one evening, I noticed her boss, Susan, leaving at the same time. Susan gave me a puzzled look, clearly unaware of any late-night projects. My gut told me something was off, but I wanted to believe her. Laura and I had built a life together. We had a mortgage, 2 cats, and years of memories. I couldn't fathom that she'd risk it all. But then I found the receipts, literally. A charge for an upscale restaurant neither of us had visited, a hotel reservation in a nearby city. My heart raced as I scrolled through our joint credit card statement. The dates matched the nights she'd claimed to be working late. I confronted her that evening. She didn't deny it. Instead, she sat there, stone-faced, as if my heartbreak was a mere inconvenience to her. "It's not what you think," she began, but the cliché only infuriated me further. "Who is he?" I demanded. "Does it matter?" she replied, her tone cold, detached. "We haven't been happy for a long time, Michael." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She wasn't even apologetic. Instead, she tried to turn it around on me, claiming that I was too distant, too focused on work, too predictable. It was as if she had a script prepared for this moment. But the worst part was yet to come. A week later, while drowning my sorrows in whiskey and the dark abyss of the internet, I received an anonymous message on social media. It contained screenshots, messages between Laura and a man named Ethan, explicit messages, plans for future rendezvous. Words of love and longing that she'd once said to me. The sender added a note: "You deserve to know the truth." I was livid. The betrayal was bad enough, but the fact that this Ethan was parading my wife around as if she were his trophy infuriated me. I decided I couldn't stay silent. People needed to know who this man really was: a homewrecker. Fueled by anger and hurt, I took to social media. I posted the screenshots, along with a detailed account of how Ethan and Laura had deceived me. I didn't name Ethan outright, but I included enough context for anyone who knew him to connect the dots. The post went viral within hours. Friends and acquaintances reached out, offering their support or sharing their own stories of betrayal. Others, however, accused me of airing dirty laundry in public, but I didn't care. I needed the world to see Ethan for who he was. 2 days later, I received a letter in the mail. It was from a law firm representing Ethan. He was suing me for defamation, claiming that my post had caused him irreparable harm to his reputation and mental health. My jaw dropped as I read the legal jargon. Not only had this man stolen my wife, but now he was trying to silence me for exposing the truth. After days of silence, the tranquility was shattered when I received a notice in the mail. At first, I thought it was a standard bill or some form of junk mail, but the words, "Notice of intent to sue," at the top caught my eye. My stomach dropped as I opened the envelope. Inside was a formal letter from a law firm representing Ryan, my wife's affair partner. The letter accused me of defamation of character, citing the online post I had made about the affair. It claimed that my false and malicious statements had caused irreparable harm to Ryan's reputation and that he was demanding monetary compensation for the damages. I stared at the document, barely able to process what I was reading. Ryan was suing me. After everything he and my wife had done, he had the audacity to try and paint himself as the victim. My hands trembled as I flipped through the pages. The law firm was demanding $100,000 in damages and a formal public retraction of my statements. I felt like the walls were closing in on me. I hadn't lied in my post. I had shared the truth. How could someone sue me for simply speaking about what had happened in my own life? The next day, I called a local law firm and set up a meeting with a lawyer named Sarah, who specialized in defamation and personal disputes. She listened intently as I recounted everything: the affair, the divorce, and the post I had made exposing the situation. "First of all," Sarah said, her tone calm but firm, "I need to know exactly what you posted. Do you have a copy of it?" I nodded and handed her a printed version of my post. She read it carefully, her brow furrowing in concentration. "Okay," she said, setting the paper down. "Here's the thing about defamation cases. For a statement to be considered defamatory, it has to be false, it has to be made publicly, and it has to cause harm to the person's reputation. From what I see here, you didn't make any false statements. Everything you wrote is factual, and you even refrained from using his full name." "So, does that mean he doesn't have a case?" I asked, hopeful but still anxious. "Not necessarily," Sarah replied. "Even if the case is weak, he can still file it and drag you into a legal battle. That's probably what he's counting on, either to intimidate you into settling or to wear you down financially. Litigation can be expensive, and he might be banking on you not wanting to fight back." I clenched my fists. This was a nightmare. Not only had Ryan wrecked my marriage, but now he was trying to ruin my life further. "What are my options?" I asked. "We can fight this," Sarah said confidently. "But I'll warn you, it won't be easy. We'll need to gather evidence to prove that what you posted was true and that it doesn't qualify as defamation. That includes any communications between you and Ryan, between you and your ex-wife, and anything else that supports your claims. Are you willing to go through with it?" I hesitated for only a moment before nodding. "Yes, I'm not going to let him get away with this." The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Sarah and her team helped me compile every piece of evidence we could find. I dug through old text messages, emails, and even photos that proved the affair had happened. I also collected screenshots of the messages Ryan had sent me before and after the affair was exposed, some of which included veiled threats and attempts to manipulate me into silence. Meanwhile, my ex-wife, Laura, had been uncharacteristically quiet. I suspected she was mortified by the public fallout from the affair. She'd lost a lot of friends and social standing because of it, and her relationship with Ryan seemed to be on rocky ground. I debated reaching out to her for help. After all, she could confirm the truth of my claims, but I wasn't sure if I could trust her. The betrayal still stung, and I didn't know if she would side with Ryan out of guilt or loyalty. As I weighed my options, Sarah contacted me with a development. "I've looked into Ryan's background," she said during one of our meetings, "and it turns out this isn't the first time he's been involved in a legal dispute. He's filed similar lawsuits before, usually against people who've crossed him in some way. It seems to be a pattern with him, using lawsuits as a way to intimidate and silence people." My jaw tightened. This wasn't just about me. Ryan had a history of weaponizing the legal system to bully others, and now I was his latest target. As the legal battle loomed, word about the lawsuit began to spread. Friends, family, and even some of my co-workers found out, and the reactions were mixed. Some people were supportive, urging me to stand my ground and fight back. Others suggested I take the post down and settle to avoid further trouble. One evening, I received a message from an unexpected source, one of Ryan's former co-workers. "Hi, Michael," the message read. "I heard about the lawsuit. I used to work with Ryan, and let's just say he's not exactly an upstanding guy. If you need any help proving your case, let me know." Intrigued, I arranged a call with the co-worker, who revealed that Ryan had been fired from his previous job for misconduct. While the details were murky, it painted a picture of someone who wasn't as squeaky clean as he claimed to be. Armed with this new information, I felt a renewed sense of determination. Ryan had underestimated me, thinking I would cave under the pressure of his lawsuit. But I wasn't going down without a fight. As the lawsuit progressed, Sarah and her team continued to build a rock-solid defense. We gathered evidence that not only confirmed the affair, but also revealed Ryan's long history of manipulation and malicious behavior. His threats, prior lawsuits, and even his questionable actions at work painted a clear picture of someone who thrived on intimidation. Still, the looming court date weighed heavily on me. The thought of standing in a courtroom, facing Ryan and his lawyers, was daunting, but I knew I couldn't back down. This wasn't just about clearing my name, it was about standing up for myself and not letting a bully like Ryan dictate my life. One afternoon, as I was preparing for yet another meeting with Sarah, I received a call from an unknown number. "Michael, it's Laura!" My ex-wife's voice came through the line, hesitant but clear. I was immediately on edge. "What do you want, Laura?" She sighed. "Look, I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from, but I heard about the lawsuit. Ryan's suing you, isn't he?" Yeah, he is," I said tersely. "And why do you care?" "Because I think he's gone too far," she admitted. "I've been seeing who he really is these past few months, and it's not pretty. The way he's handled this, it's cruel. I want to help you." I was stunned. Laura, the woman who had betrayed me, was now offering to support me in my fight against her affair partner. It was almost too much to process. "Why now?" I asked, my voice laced with suspicion. "Because I regret what I did," she said quietly. "I've lost so much because of my choices, and I don't want to see him destroy you too. I'll testify if you need me to. I'll confirm the affair and anything else that might help your case." It took me a moment to respond. Part of me wanted to tell her to stay out of it, that I didn't need her pity or her help. But another part of me recognized the value of her testimony. If she was willing to take the stand and expose Ryan's lies, it could be the key to winning the case. "Fine," I said finally, "but don't think this makes us even." "I understand," she said softly. The day of the trial arrived, and I walked into the courtroom with a mix of anxiety and determination. Ryan was already there, dressed in a sharp suit and flanked by his legal team. He smirked when he saw me, as if he was confident of his victory, but I had my own team, and I wasn't alone. Sarah had meticulously prepared me for this moment, and Laura had followed through on her promise to testify. When she took the stand, there was a palpable tension in the room. Laura recounted the affair in detail, confirming every claim I had made in my post. She admitted her own mistakes and acknowledged the pain she had caused, but her testimony left no doubt about the truth. Ryan's smug expression faltered as Sarah grilled him on the stand. She brought up his history of frivolous lawsuits, his misconduct at work, and the threatening messages he had sent me. His attempts to paint himself as the victim fell apart under the weight of the evidence. By the end of the trial, it was clear that his case had no merit. The judge ruled in my favor, dismissing Ryan's defamation claim entirely. Not only that, but the court also ordered him to pay my legal fees, citing the baseless nature of his lawsuit. It was a complete and total victory. As I left the courtroom, a wave of relief washed over me. For the first time in months, I felt like I could finally breathe again. Ryan's attempts to intimidate me had failed, and I had come out stronger on the other side. In the weeks that followed, I began to rebuild my life. The ordeal had been exhausting, but it had also taught me an important lesson. I was stronger than I realized. Laura reached out a few times after the trial, apologizing again for everything that had happened. While I appreciated her willingness to help, I knew that forgiving her and letting her back into my life were two very different things. I wished her well, but made it clear that I was moving on without her. As for Ryan, his reputation was in shambles. Word of the failed lawsuit spread quickly, and people began to see him for who he truly was. He faded into obscurity, no longer able to manipulate or bully his way through life. I decided to take a break from social media and focus on myself. I started therapy, reconnected with friends, and even joined a hiking group to spend more time outdoors. Slowly but surely, I began to heal. One day, as I stood at the top of a mountain trail, looking out at the sprawling landscape below, I realized how far I had come, not just physically, but emotionally. The pain and betrayal no longer consumed me. I had taken back control of my life, and I wasn't looking back. What would you have done in my situation? Would you have taken the fight to court, or would you have settled to avoid the stress? Let me know your thoughts. I'd love to hear them.